Start recording now. Okay, great. We're now recording this training session. Before I start diving in, is there any questions right off the bat that anyone is wondering about when it comes to target audience and managing your contacts? Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and just dive right in. And feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions. I'll pause occasionally to see if anyone has questions, because I know there'll be a lot of information that we're going through. But if you have any questions, feel free to chime in and ask at any time. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen right now. Okay, so I am currently in the target audience platform. So again, just as a review, oh, where did that, my sharing screen? Okay, here we go. All right, can everyone see my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So just as a reminder, the way that you can navigate into the target audience platform is by, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a drop-down where you can navigate between Research Suite and target audience. You'll also see when you're in Research Suite at the top of your screen, you'll see a link there that says target audience that you can click on. You can also even click on, in the new user interface, you don't even have to use this upper right-hand portion to toggle back and forth. You actually, when you just click on the contacts tab, it just takes you directly into it. But once you log into target audience for the first time, for everybody on this call, this is pretty much the view that you're going to see. There is one other module here that you don't have access to. It is the master directory. So anyone who is a brand admin at your at Meijer, which is pretty much just Keith at this point, will have access to the entire directory. But for everyone else, what we did is when the migration completed over the weekend, if you had any panels data at all that was loaded into your account, you had that migrated over, and any panel that you had created now became a mailing list. So this is where we're going to start the training today. Is we're gonna start by talking about mailing lists. So basically, what a mailing list is you can think of that just like what you thought about your panel. It's your list of contacts that you've segmented out for a specific panel or group of individuals that you want to survey, and you can have as many mailing lists as you would like. So you can manage your mailing lists up here in this upper left-hand corner. You'll have a drop-down right here where you can see all of your available mailing lists, and you can search. So if you have a lot of mailing lists, you can easily just search and pull up any mailing list that you have in your directory there. And you can also create a new mailing list from there. So we'll go ahead and create one for today. You can organize it in folders as well. We have a folder management system just to help you with organizing it. But we'll go ahead and create a new mailing list here so you can kind of walk through this process from the beginning. So whenever you create a new mailing list, one of the first things that you're going to do is add contacts to that mailing list. So when you are adding list members here, which is the first option in this submenu, you have two ways that you can add people to your mailing list. You can either import them via a CSV file. So if you have a large number of contacts that you want to import, that's the fastest and most efficient way to do it. Or you can add them manually here. So to add them via a CSV file, this is something that the process is identical to how it was before target audience. We have an example document here that you can download. You can open that up, and it'll show you the template for how you would import your contacts. You would do the first name, last name, email address, and then any additional data. We call that embedded data, which is basically just additional data. So if you had information such as job title, phone number, address, you know, city, state, etc. You could add that all in and upload it in mass to target audience. And so you just do that by clicking on browse, find your file, import it in.
On those additional fields, what does the column need to be called? Can we use our own terms for the column headers?
Yep, you absolutely can.
Okay, thanks.
So in fact, I'll even show you what that looks like here real quick. So for example, if we put in Steve Handy, and then let's say we wanted to do city, state, could do this as Provo, Utah. So I'm going to save this. So you save your CSV file. It has to be as a CSV. You come in here, and you can go ahead and browse for that file. So let's come here. All right. Oh, 1 second, sorry. All right, where'd you go? I saved it in that folder. Sorry, 1 second here. All right, come down here. Got a lot of files here where I was helping, there you are, where I was helping Keith manage some of your guys' panels. So it'll do an initial check to make sure that you have imported this successfully. If you had the formatting wrong in any way, it would give you an error message and not show you this initial output. So this is just the initial output for you to verify, like, yeah, this is looking good. This is what I want to do. As you can see, I renamed the row for the embedded data to city and state, and it's imported that successfully. So once everything looks good, I can go ahead and click upload. And it has successfully imported a contact. So now I actually have, as you can see, it transitioned me over to this option here where it says view list members. Now I'm actually viewing my entire mailing list, which only has one person in it. But we'll go ahead and show you what it's like to add manually. It's really easy. So let's say you went ahead and wanted to add another person. And we'll just call this. It's as easy as just coming in here, typing it in, click save, and you've added it. Now, if you notice something, one of the things that if you notice, we're looking at the mailing list. If you notice, it's only showing one contact. And the reason why it did that is, I don't know if you noticed, but I typed in the exact same email address. And so Target Audience actually has an automatic deduplication feature, where that if you are adding a duplicate person into a mailing list with the exact same email address, it's going to automatically deduplicate off of that, and it'll take your latest entry. And so that's a nice feature that you can turn on and off, but it does give you the ability to kind of keep your list clean. So and you can actually manage duplicates from this tab here, and you can do that on your own. So for example, let's go ahead and add another person here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to just say, we're just going to put in some fake email addresses here for the time being.
Oh my God, don't make me laugh again. That was so funny.
Okay. All right, here we go. So we're adding a couple more contacts here. So now my mailing list has 3 contacts. So if I wanted to come in here and manage duplicates, you can actually come in here and run to see if you have any duplicates off of the following categories. So if I want to see if I have any duplicates on email, I can click that, and it is showing me that I have no duplicates by email. But if I come in here and say, well, do I have any duplicates off of first name? It actually does show me that I've got 2 contacts in this mailing list that have the first name of John. And so I can click on Consolidate Duplicates, and it will show me the entire record for the individual. So it'll show me which are the duplicate fields and which are just unique. So all of these right here are all unique metadata fields that we captured. But here you have 2 variations when it comes to email between these 2 contacts, and you have 2 variations on last name for those 2 contacts. So as you're consolidating these, you can decide, oh, okay, I got 2 people that are matching up with the first name of John. The correct last name actually is Doe, not Smith. And the correct email actually is, it actually is shandy@Qualtrics, so that's fine. And you can check the rest of the metadata fields, see if those need to be updated, and click Save. And once I do that, it'll consolidate those 2 contacts so that when you come back here to view your list, you'll actually see that I now only have 2 contacts. It consolidated John Doe with Steve Handy. So that is one of the nice features about target audience, is you have automatic deduplication of when you're entering in new contacts, so that it can check against the email address to make sure you're not adding people more than once to the list, so that you're preventing emailing them, the same survey more than once, as well as running a manual deduplication process that you can initiate by clicking on the Manage Duplicates section in your mailing list. Is there any questions so far from what I've reviewed in terms of adding list members and managing duplicates? Okay, great. So we'll talk a little bit more here about viewing list members. So when you actually have a list member here, now I actually consolidated and got rid of my contact that had some good metadata in it. So I'm going to add another one here real quick. So we're going to go ahead and add another contact. So as you can see, I actually have the ability to come in here and add additional metadata straight from here. And I can actually rename it in there, right? So there's a way to do this manually, and not just through importing a CSV file. So we're going to put this back in here. We're going to add it. So the reason why I wanted to give this as an example is one of the powerful things about target audience is it allows you to collect a large number of data points on your specific contacts that you can use for building samples or being able to do respondent profile building. So for example, when I come here in my view list members and I select this checkbox, it will pull up here to the right a breakdown of this specific contact. I can see their email address, and then I can also see the embedded data. I can see that we currently have city and state, and then it has some general health statistics when it comes to their overall panel management or survey taking history. So this will show me the last time I sent this contact an email, last time I invited them to a survey, because target audience allows you to it's an email platform as well. So you can send an email without sending a survey invite. So it can track both, that this is how many times you've emailed Steve, this is how many survey invitations you've given, you know, and this is the last of each of those. It'll show you how many, the date, this will be a timestamp of the last survey response that this individual responded to. It'll also show my response rate based upon, response rate is based upon number of surveys completed versus number of surveys invited. And it'll show my average response time. And target audience has the ability to, down here, the last option here on your menu is incentives. You can actually set up an incentive structure where you can assign points and rewards for taking surveys. So if you've initiated that or set that up, it would also show you the balance of rewards points that this individual would have based on the surveys they've taken. So as you can see, you can really start to build a very rich profile for, if you have recurring panelists, this is where this becomes very valuable. If you don't really ever have recurring panelists, you know, that you may not use this as much, but it's definitely some nice statistics that you'll have access to that you have not had access to in the past. I can also edit my individual list members when I select them here. I can choose to edit some of these embedded data fields or their contact information, or I have the ability to opt them out. So target audience, one of the other features that you have access to is having an easier way of managing opt-outs. So there are two different types of opt-outs that you can do. There's a global opt-out, which would opt out a contact from all mailing lists that you may have at throughout all of Meijer. So you can add, obviously, excuse me, you can add the same person to multiple mailing lists. Maybe you have them on a frequent shopper mailing list, and you have them also on a product feedback mailing list. And so these are different surveys that you want them to participate in. And then if Steve Handy was part of that multiple mailing lists, but he decided that he wanted to opt out of all surveys from Meijer, he'll have that ability to do that in target audience. But he can also opt out just out of one individual mailing list. And then you have the ability to manually come in here and opt people in or out of a mailing list. So right here you have the opt out button. I'm currently opted in, as indicated over here by this green circle with the white check mark in it. But now you'll notice once I save that, it'll turn to a red circle with an X in it. So that's how you can identify who is opted in and who is opted out of your mailing list. And obviously you can come in there and change that. So if you wanted to update that in mass, you also have these actions that you can take here in this drop-down arrow. So let's say we wanted to opt out these other two folks here, John and Jane. I can come here and I can say with selected, I can opt out. And I can just do a quick action there, apply, and it loads. Now everyone's opted out. So the checkbox here allows you to view individuals. If you select multiple, you'll notice that pane goes away, the window pane here, but you can, with selected results, you can either edit embedded data, remove them from the list, opt in or out. Any questions thus far on mailing lists and how you manage them? Okay. The last piece that I'll show you here on the view list members is your ability to both search your mailing list as well as create a filter. So if you have a very large mailing list, this search function can be very nice if you're wanting to you know, set up conditions for how you are trying to search for someone. So let's say, for example, you're trying to build a panel by saying, okay, well, if anyone has you know, uh, sorry, range statistics. So if anyone has had more than 2 emails from us between this time period, I want to pull up that list of people. Maybe you're trying to identify who are some of your most frequent people that you've been surveying or responding to. This is where some of the real power comes into target audience, is you can do a lot of digging into analyzing, slicing, and dicing your contact list here to identify a specific profile of respondents if you wanted to create a sample, or if you wanted to just understand behavior of response patterns, etc. Additionally, you have these filters, which are great, where you can basically just say, okay, I want to search by embedded data, and I'm going to search for state, and I want to see anyone in our panel that, you know, is currently in the state of Utah. You can go ahead and search for that, and it pulls up these 2 folks here, John and Steve, are both in the state of Utah. And so the filtering and the searching is really, really great. You can actually save these searches as well. So let's say you're like, oh, okay, that's perfect. I'm going to come back to my Utah panel on a frequent basis. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to name this my Utah sample, and I can save that. And then it saves the search, because sometimes, as you can see, you can add multiple logic sets here by clicking the plus button. So this will feel familiar to you if you've used logic in building your surveys with Qualtrics. But you can basically set up you can set up an and statement, or you can set up an or statement in your logic. So let's say I wanted to find someone who was in the state of Utah, but also was you know, is subscribed to this mailing list and not opted out. So you wanted to filter out people who are opted out. You can do that again. Obviously, this is going to come back with no results because both of those folks are opted out. But that's the nice thing. You can get a very complex search going, and obviously you might not want to continue to rebuild those searches and those filters time and time again. So saving those searches, saving those filters can be really nice if it's something that you're going to come back to. So yeah, so that's a little bit about the search function and giving you the ability to manage your context that way. It's really handy and helps out a lot when you're trying to understand your panel more or build a sample. Any questions about that before we move on? Okay, great. We already covered the manage duplicates section here, so we'll skip over that. View samples. Basically, what this is if I've generated a sample or created a sample, it will store those and save them here. So again, let's say I want to come in here and I'm going to create a sample off of my Meijer training panel. We'll call this again my Utah sample. I can decide how big it is, and I can add conditions. You can either just do it with no conditions and have it randomly generate a sample off of there, or you can add conditions based on, again, like I said, you could do it based off of location, embedded data, whatever you'd like. It'll generate a sample for you. And now, now you're creating a sample in here that then you can manage. And over here, you have the drop-down arrow where you can edit it or delete it or export it to a CSV. But this is a nice feature where you can build samples off of your mailing list. So this is a great tool here. Last option here under mailing list is your mailing list statistics. This will show you for your entire mailing list. So irregardless of what survey you're sending, this is just for everybody inside of this mailing list, what has been their average response rate, average response time, how many emails you've sent out to them, invites, etc. So this is some nice statistics for you if you're building out A mailing list, again, that you're sending to on a regular basis. Maybe it's meant to be a panel of folks that are giving you feedback on some of your new products. You can get a feel for what's the overall participation rate like, and how successful is this panel going. Any questions about mailing lists in general before we move on to distributions? Okay, great. So the next thing that we'll talk about is moving on down here to distribution. So once you have organized your mailing list, and many of you, that's pretty much already done for you, since we migrated your panels data over, really I would just recommend going in and reviewing your different mailing lists, making sure they look good, cleaning up any duplicates if you need to, etc. But your mailing lists are pretty much done and ready for you. Now the next step would be, okay, so how do you distribute from target audience? Well, this is where you would do it, is you'd click on the distribution button here. And again, as I mentioned earlier, target audience gives you the ability to not only send a survey, but also to just send an email, a general email. So when you're distributing a single mailing, you're going to select who's this going to by selecting your mailing list. So I can come in here and we're going to do this one. Oops, sorry. We're going to this one. Okay, where did my one go that I just created? Oh, you know what? I think I deleted out those contacts. That's why it's not showing up there. I wanted to have those in there. Well, that's okay. Okay, so let's just go over to this one. So you can either select your entire mailing list, or you can select individuals off of it. So we're gonna, or you can select the sample if you saw that as well. So if you've generated a sample in the past off of that mailing list, it'll show up here. So you're gonna select who this is going to. You can decide when you wanna send it. You can delay the send. You can even do a custom delay where you're saying, we want to do it on September 22nd at 7:34 in the morning. You know, you can actually delay that send or send it immediately. And this is where you're going to have to make sure that you input a survey link if you're wanting to send a survey. If you don't select a survey from here, it'll just send out an email, and that's it, and not include a survey link. So this is where you can decide, am I going to just draft up a general email to my mailing list, or do I want to send them a survey invite? So when you click on here, it'll show you all the different surveys that you've built or have access to that have been collaborated with you on. You can select that. You can modify the from address if you're wanting to modify who that's coming to. Put in your subject, obviously. And then this is where the body of your email is going to be able to edit it. You have the ability, like I said, to include the survey link, and it's not showing up currently in there, but when you select the actual survey that you're sending from, it'll populate a link in here when you send it. So that'll happen automatically, and you don't need to worry about that. But this this is the opportunity for you to just draft up your email here, and it's a blank canvas, and you can do a lot of great things with it. If you're tech savvy, you can come in here to the source code and do HTML and make it look really nice. Also, if you guys have templates at Meijer that maybe you've saved, you can access those through your library and load a message that you've already had in there, or a template that you may have, and then you have the ability to modify that. For those of you who are familiar with building and editing surveys, you'll see some of these options look very familiar, like inserting pipe text. So if you wanted to add in, for example, from your mailing list, the recipient's first name so that you're personalizing the email address, obviously you can do that there. All of these buttons are going to be very familiar for those of you who have sent distributions in the past through Qualtrics. So if you've sent a distribution in the past through Qualtrics, none of these features have changed. It's the same buttons, same functionality. If you've never done this before, I'd recommend maybe just spending some time playing around with the different options and crafting your own message. You can send yourself a test email, and then you can also obviously initiate the send with this button here by clicking on Send Now. Any message that you draft up here, it'll always prompt you to save it first. So for example, if I come here and I go try to click on Send Now, let me just change this here real quick. If I were to click on Send Now, it'll always prompt you saying your message needs to be saved first. So you can click on Save. And you can save this message, and that'll now become a template that you have access to in the future, which is really great. So as you can see, it's now showing up there in my library, the test training template. And you can easily switch back and forth between templates that you have. It's a very nice feature here as you send distributions out on a regular basis. Any questions about distributing the survey or distributing an email?
Steve, does this two menu only show you people who are not opted out, so people who are opted in?
Yes, that is correct. In fact, that's exactly what was happening with my panel here. Because this is the panel I created today. It's showing no results because I opted everybody out of it. And so that's the nice thing, is it's not even giving me the option to add them into my mailing. So, which is great. You know, it's just a kind of a little safety check there. So if I went back over here to mailing lists and opted those folks back in, they would now show up in here. Great, great question, and thanks for pointing that out, because that's exactly what it's doing. You'll also notice that there'll be some certain checks, right, that'll come into place, like I didn't have a subject line, and it'll, you know, and you want to make sure that you're inserting any survey links or anything that you'll need to do. This message health button is, we basically have some background like algorithms that we're using to check to make sure that the content of your message isn't going to be too spammy. So if you're putting in things in there that would potentially be caught as spam, then it's going to alert you and show you that your message health is a little bit lower. So that's another nice feature there. Any other questions? Okay. You can come over here. This next option in distributions is mailing history. And this is based on mailing list. So you're going to want to switch back and forth between mailing lists. So for example, I've actually sent a distribution to this mailing list. So this will actually show you here, once you've sent a distribution to a specific mailing list, it'll be populated with here with the statistics. It will show you how many emails were failed, skipped, duplicate emails, emails bounced, emails delivered, emails opened, surveys started, and surveys finished. So that gives you some really good insight. Let me point out a couple of these statistics here. Emails skipped. Emails skipped is specifically for contact frequency rules. So if you are an admin on the Meijer account, you have the ability to go in and set contact frequency rules for everybody in the directory. Target audience does give you the ability to decide, hey, we really don't want to send more than 6 survey invitations to our contacts within a calendar year. You can set up those conditions, and if those conditions have been met, then it will skip over them automatically. So target audience keeps that in the background. It knows what the contact frequency rules are, and if you have set those up, and if someone is at that threshold, it skips over them when you send them an email. The rest of them are pretty self-explanatory. I guess I'll explain this one here. Survey started. Survey started is counted once they have actually clicked on the survey link in your invitation. So emails open, so you can actually track to see if they actually opened up your email to read it. But then survey started would be if they've actually clicked on the survey link. Also, you have the ability to take a few actions here. You can either send a reminder or a thank you email. You can download the mailing history, or you can just delete this distribution altogether. The other option that you do have is you can actually generate links in target audience. So let's say your marketing team wanted to actually use their email platform to distribute a survey as opposed to you distributing it through target audience. You have the ability to come in here and select your panel and select what survey you want to generate links for, set the expiration date, and then generate a CSV download that will include unique links for every single person in your panel. You could then take those links and upload that into another email system if you needed to be able to distribute the survey that way. Now, the nice thing is, even though you are not using target audience to distribute it, because you generated the links inside target audience, you will still be tracking or adding additional data to your respondents that you can see here in the mailing list. So for example, if I generated links and I sent it out to my panel to take a survey, when I come in here and click on an individual, I would be able to still track the survey invitations, the number of survey invitations, the response rate, etc. That would be still accessible to you, even though you did not distribute through target audience because you generated the link in target audience. So that's another nice feature. I don't know if anyone at Meijer will need to ever use that, but just know that you have that ability to generate links. Any other questions about distribution? Okay, great. So the last option on here is incentives. I don't know if, from my understanding from Keith and others, I don't think there's any plans to do incentives, at least on his end. I don't know if there's other groups where you're wanting to dive into incentives more. But for now, we'll kind of just hold off on going into incentives. If that is something that you are wanting to take advantage of and really understand how to use that and build out points and the reward system, you can reach out to me and let me know, and we can review that with you. But we won't dive into that for now. Now, one of the last things I want to point out here is up here in your upper right-hand corner, you have the ability to click on support and feedback. When you click on this page, this is where you can actually, you have a phone number here for support that you could call. If you ever run into any product issues or run into any troubles along the way, you can always call our support team. Additionally, you can actually submit a ticket here where you can say, I have a technical question or issue, and you can put in the relevant information here. You can even upload data if you need to, screenshots, CSV file, etc. for maybe you're experiencing an issue trying to import a contact list and it's not working for some reason, you can, you know, upload that CSV file, describe your issue, and you can submit it here. And that goes straight into our support team. And when you submit a ticket this way to our support team, it actually gets escalated a little bit faster. So you'll get a much faster response time when you're submitting a ticket in product. So this is a really nice feature for you to take advantage of if you need any assistance. Additionally, if you go to support.qualtrics.com, we have a section here for target audience that you can come and review any of this information I've covered today in greater detail. So if you wanted to learn more about the directory, you can do that. If you wanted to learn more about mailing lists, how to view, manage, etc. Even the incentives piece that I mentioned earlier, if you wanted to understand how to set these up, you can come to this self-help page, come here, a lot of really good content in here with great screenshots and descriptions here that will help you understand how to utilize the target audience product. So I just want to make sure that I pointed you to those resources as well as we kind of wrap things up here. Any questions at all about anything that we've covered today?
I was just wondering if there's a limit to the number of metadata fields in the CSV or the contacts that we create.
No, there is not. You have the ability to add as many as you would like. I've got some customers where they've added several hundred. I mean, it starts to get a little bit more messy, right, when you have hundreds and hundreds, but yeah, you can append as much data on there as you would like. And the nice thing about that is the more data that you have, as we highlighted earlier, with the power of target audience and filtering and searching, you can really create some customized panels that are really great. So no, there's no limit there. Any other questions? Okay, well that covers our training for today. Again, what I would just recommend doing at this point is logging into the product and actually testing it out yourself. And that's one of the best ways to learn. So go ahead and log in and try it out. If you run into any issues, obviously you can reach out to support. You can reach out to myself. Let me know if there's anything we can do to help you. But we appreciate your time coming to our training today. Like I said, I've been recording this session, so we'll go ahead and send that out to you for your reference. But hope you have a great rest of your day and enjoy using target audience.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.